Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here and investing your time with us today. My name is Heather Oida, pronouns she, her, and I'm the moderator for today's panel called A Conversation with Industry Game Changers. By way of background, I'm the president and one of the 4 co-founders here at The Gamers. Today, we have an amazing panel where we'll gain inspiration from a few of the industry's most respected and knowledgeable leaders. Their wisdom, thoughts, and advice on gaming's ever-changing landscape is sure to help guide all of us. And I see lots of familiar faces in the panel and in the audience. So happy to be here. A little bit of the format to give you an idea of what to expect. We'll take a few moments for each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their background in the industry. And then we'll kick off the conversation with some questions that hopefully will draw out some themes and high-level trends that we should all be thinking about as we're taking this journey together. And then lastly, we'll invite you to join us over on Ritual Motion to continue with questions and networking. So welcome, everyone. And on that note, let's have the panelists introduce themselves. So if each panelist could just share your name, your pronoun, and a bit about yourself and your background. And we'll start with Brittani. Oh, is Brittani here?
I don't know. I don't think Brittany's here.
I am here. Brittani, it's like pulling back the curtain. It's like, who's the surprise
That was a fun party trick.
Brittani, if you need a hot second, I was going to start with you with introductions, but I'm happy to circle back. It's up to you.
You know what? Circle back.
Yeah, I would be the same way. Okay, Heather. Hi, Heather. Heather and I were in New York together a few weeks ago. It's so nice to see you.
We were. Hi, I am Heather Garozzo. I guess gaming name sapphiRe, pronoun she, her. I've been in gaming and esports for about 20 years now. Started way back in like 1999 when Counter-Strike first came out. Played that competitively, eventually professionally, won a esports World Cup championship, was the first, but thankfully not the only woman inducted into the Esports Hall of Fame now. Let's see, I do esports observing, so it's essentially like in-game directing for various Counter-Strike and Valorant tournaments, so that brings me all over the world. And lastly, but maybe most importantly, I work at an esports team called Dignitas, so we're one of the longest operating esports orgs. I'm the VP of events, and I also founded our women's initiative called Radiant.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. Quin, hi.
Hi, hello. I hope y'all can hear me fine. Hi, my name is CtrlAltQuin. You can also call me Quin. Either is fine. My pronouns are they, them. I am a full-time Twitch partner and content creator. I've been working in the gaming industry on and off for like 10 years now, doing everything from working conventions to journalism, and now just being a full-time content creator. And a lot of my work deals around like LGBTQIA plus issues and trans activism. And I'm really excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you. Quin, I have to write down a quote when I was on your Twitch the other day. I love this that you wrote about yourself. And I'm a big believer in just since this is a career focused weekend together.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in figuring out memorable ways to let our personalities shine through. So I love this quote. Do you mind if I read it?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay. So Quin says, "Lend me some sugar. I am your very awkward neighbor." It's like, it just sets the tone of your whole brand.
Oh, yeah.
I totally dig that.
I am a very awkward person.
I love that. Really love that.
Thank you.
Okay. And Brittani, sorry about the tech difficulties.
That's okay. That's okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittani Johnson, she, her. I have been working in the video game industry for probably a little bit more than 10 years at this point. Definitely more than 10 years at this point, but in different capacities. So started out as Angel from Borderlands, did a lot of different voiceover and on-camera work, but then really found my footing working on the business side. I really wanted more women to look up to. And I really only had one person back then. It was Kiki Wolfgill. And she was a powerhouse, but she couldn't have been the only one. So, I was just like, you know what? I'll do it. So I just got really involved in any part of the industry I could, started consulting, worked as the director of league operations, then G2 esports, and then now starting my own thing. So.
So cool. Well, welcome. Thank you all for being here. So to kick us off, I am a big believer in having a leg up professionally by talking to visionaries like all of you to learn where the industry has been and where it's going. So I think to kick us off, could you all share how you think the gaming industry has changed in the past few years and what you think will happen if you can predict over the next few years? And let's kick it off with you, Quin.
Yeah. So when I think about like when I started in the gaming industry or like working conventions and stuff, there was this whole concept of like booth babes was still a thing, and there wasn't no real clear path how to like become on air talent, because that's what I do. Like I'm talent. So as since then, like a lot of those concepts don't even exist anymore. They're kind of like banned. um, and I really love how there's just more representation for just like people of color, and not just women, but like femme identifying folks or just like trans individuals, like, or body positivity as well. Like it's not just about like how a company can like use your looks to like, there's so much talent there, behind the way someone looks. And I feel like that's a huge change I've seen in the past 5 years, and like ad deals and like hosting opportunities. I feel like there's a lot more people who look like me, and that feels safe and comforting, and like that's really inspiring. And in the next 10 years, I would really like to see that just normalize as a whole, so that when someone is doing something so monumental, like hosting on a channel of some sort, that it's just like, yep, that's the way it's supposed to be. Not like, oh my gosh, look, here's a Black trans person doing this work. That's so cool. Like, we need to normalize just like diversity as a whole in the gaming industry. And 5 years ago, it wasn't really like that. And that wasn't really that long ago. So
Yeah, I love that. So we interviewed Brenda Romero for one of our podcasts, and she said that when I think she's in the Guinness Book of World Records. She's been in the industry the longest consecutive years. She started in the 80s. And she said when she first started, she was just called a game designer, a game developer. And then as the world changed and the gaming landscape changed, she all of a sudden was only referred to as a woman developer, a woman game designer. She's like, what's happening? And she said she feels like, to your point, Quin, that it's slowly coming back, where that's not so unusual, where you have to term it something else than just I'm a developer, I'm a game designer. So really like what you had to say. Brittani.
I mean, just to really add on, because I mean, that's exactly how it was. There weren't that many women. I mean, going to a party at E3 10 years ago was like that first episode of, oh my gosh, what's the TV show on HBO?
Oh my God, I know it and I love it, and it's the tip of my tongue.
I know. I have it. I have like all the casts in my head right now, like right here. But I mean, the joke is, there you would get there and it'd be 20-1, male to female. Like you would walk in and you'd be like, oh my gosh, and people would look at you like, whose girlfriend are you? Not, what do you do in this industry? And that clearly needed to change, and it has so much. Things aren't perfect, but there has been so much work done. Just going to conventions now. The other day we went. Heather and I were at a convention or a summit, and there was a women in breakfast part of the summit that happened in the morning, and the room was full of wonderful, powerful women in the industry that you probably would not have seen that 10 years ago. Like being able to get great minds together like that and come together and think of different ways to further, how do we make this better? And so, I think we are being way more progressive and way more inclusive now. And it can only, we're all working together. We're all being very thoughtful in that and trying to work out the way to normalize it.
Mm.
And I think that's very, 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 very important.
Very. You're so right. When we went to our first PAX a few years ago, we were on the main floor, and it was a very strategic decision. It was part of our rollout. We hadn't launched yet. And I remember this group of guys coming up to us and saying, so what charity are you with? I'm like, are you asking the guy across from me that paid the same amount for the booth what charity he's running? So yeah, what you're saying really resonates with me. Heather.
Oh gosh. It's been a while. As someone that's been in this industry since like 2000, like 2007, 2015 were like there's a lot of the same, and then literally like the last 5 years has been wild. But some of the things that really stand out to me are like the amount of like high school, collegiate, even like middle school support for like gaming and esports was just, obviously wasn't a thing years ago. Like, you know, you weren't supposed to play games after school. You were supposed to play sports. And now that's just becoming a more normalized part of after school activities, collegiate programs. I know there was someone on Twitter the other day that made a list of like 170 different colleges that have esports programs, which is fantastic. And now within the last year or two, a lot of them are saying, wait a minute, we don't have any women playing, and so now that's obviously a big focus as well. So that's been a big change. And then separately, just the amount of people that are working in this industry. I mean, again, 5 years ago, a real career in gaming didn't really seem possible unless I was on the game developer side. So it's nice to just see how many probably hundreds of thousands of people that have careers in the gaming industry now.
Mm. So it sounds like we're getting there slowly but surely. So I'm going to kick this off to you, Brittani. Who do you think is making the greatest advancements in the gaming world, and what are they doing?
One of the I will use this week for an example. I think Riot, with what they're doing with Game Changers, is really, really paving the way for a women's league. Just being able to have the opportunity to be able to set an example, and the support and the resources that are put behind it. That right now, I think, is one of the biggest needle movers that's happening. Like it's so prominent, and so like the fact that they're standing behind it, they're investing in it, and everyone's like, okay, we're going to do it. You want to do it? We're going to do it. And so it's really cool to see that happening, because it needed to happen from a top down, not from grassroots. It's great that's like we do have grassroots, but it's setting an example.
Interesting. Yeah. A good sign. Quin.
So from a talent side of things, I've seen a lot of companies in the gaming industry make these programs to support creators from marginalized backgrounds. So, and some of them are grassroots, like they're created by like the staff, and some of them are top down, and they're just like, no, we have to do more for queer folks or people of color or for women or femme presenting folks. I really like what EA is doing with their Game Changers program, especially because Apex is a very diverse game with a lot of diverse characters in it. And I really love how they're just reaching out to marginalized communities to work with them, and like whether they're sponsoring tournaments and things like that. And that's a huge competitive game too. Apex is like really up there. So I would say EA is like doing really good work for marginalized communities in the gaming industry, which is going to normalize folks there and inspire other people to like jump in and play.
Love that. Heather.
Well, first to add to what Brittany said, because I love throwing out this stat. For Valorant Game Changers, in Europe last week, there were 91 women's and marginalized genders teams competing in Game Changers. 91 in just Europe. That's insane. Like in the history of esports, there's never been like 91 teams, women's non-binary teams until like last year or so. So that's awesome. Just to add a few more thoughts. I really love what both Riot Games are doing and like Blast, a CS:GO tournament series, are doing in terms of like creating festivals out of their gaming events. So combining like music and pop culture and all this really cool merchandise, like and absolutely like insane broadcast quality, like learning from the people that do it like best from traditional sports. Um, just combining all these things into like great cultural moments for gaming fans, so that if you're maybe not like a hardcore fan of a game or the team, like there's other things for you to enjoy there. And that means like as we start to return to events, like people are bringing their friends, their family, because there's other things for them to do and like expose them to what makes gaming and esports so special. So I love that. We're seeing that in real life. Obviously, Fortnite has done such a wonderful job, like in the game itself, in the metaverse, like creating these whole like pop culture universes, and I just love that, because it means you can be a fan of gaming without even really having to play those games either, because there's all these other things for you to enjoy at these gaming events.
Mm,
I
I love that.
I actually love that point because DreamHack has been doing that for a while too,
Yep.
and the
Yep.
fact that you can go to these and it's really what helped make gaming cool. Because there is like one of the things I preached when I moved to Los Angeles 10 years ago. I would go into these meetings and like, my game has been played by more people than your entire roster combined. Like, how do you not think this is cool? And they were like, "Oh, that's cute. Yeah, gaming." But now all these brands are involved in it has all this attention, and even in fashion and music, like the worlds are combining. And it's really cool that even endemically we're celebrating that. And like it makes going to these events and these festivals just so much more fun.
Right. So everyone that's watching and listening out there, it sounds like this is almost a case study in branding and re-storytelling, and how that has the ability to change an industry. I mean, I wrote down, Heather, I was going to ask you why you think all of a sudden 91 teams were there. And then Brittany kind of, I feel like, answer that. It's the coolness, the story, the branding has changed. But that was my takeaway. But would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fun to be a part of. Like, um, the Game Changers program is like putting, a spotlight on all these teams, and people sometimes people like to be in the spotlight and have their story told, and people watch them and people celebrate them. They're getting all these wonderful opportunities, and then like the game itself too. I mean, I genuinely like adore this game, even though I'm a Counter-Strike player at heart. But like the characters are relatable, the voice lines are really fun. Like there's like a lot of like fashion like in the game itself, and people are taking inspiration, creating cosplay from the characters, and it's just like this really fun mix of pop culture and competitiveness, and like all these women want to be on it, in on it, because I'm very competitive too, and I see the other women. It's like I don't want to just like be like them, but I also want to beat them in these events too. And like, wait a minute, if they can do it, maybe I can too. So it's just very fun and inspirational.
Amazing. I'd love to ask you a few questions that have come up in some of the networking sessions that have been happening backstage after these main panels. One that came up was what is your best piece of business advice that you've ever gotten? And I know that's a big one. And I'll throw it out to whomever wants to answer. And if all of you want to chime in, that's great. But you know, I'm sure there's lots of people listening and watching in different stages of their career, and you all are so accomplished. So I wonder if there's one, and perhaps it's not your best, perhaps it's one of your best pieces of advice, but I'd love to have you share that.
I'll start.
Great.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I started like streaming, and I've only been streaming for like 3 years or so, was to be the representation. If I don't see myself represented in the content that exists, then I should create it for other people, because there's someone who is looking for that lighthouse too. So yeah, being the representation was one of the best advices I got. Like, if you don't see it, do it.
Oh, that's so
Oh my
great.
God. Okay, so now I'm excited because like this ties very similarly as that like years ago, I was like, why is no one Counter-Strike Source was a old version of Counter-Strike, and like why is no one talking about like all these teams are competing all over, and why is no one using this Twitter thing to talk about it, and why is no one posting pictures from these events? And a very like high up executive from ESL said like just create it yourself. Like if you don't see it, create it yourself. I'm like, gosh, okay, maybe I should, and when and I've realized over the years, like as big as gaming is, there are just like so many untapped opportunities to create something, to tell stories about something or someone. And with all the tools that exist online now to create your own content, like, oh my gosh, you years ago trying to take video and audio and put them together. I'm really dating myself, but it was really, really difficult to do that. Live streaming was very, very, very difficult. And now it's so easy as a few clicks of a button to create content yourself. So the advice I always got was like, just make it yourself then. If no one else has done it, just make it. And it's really not that hard. And to be honest, there's probably a lot of people that want to make it with you too. Because they're looking for someone to align with. It's hard to find your way on your own. And there's so many people out there that want opportunities, that want to build their resume to work for an esports team or work for a publisher. And that like level of entrepreneurship looks like really, really attractive on a resume.
Love that.
I
Brittani.
think there's some fact to that, like I mean, there's a lot of fact to that, but saying that the biggest problem with anyone having an idea and starting is just doing it, and I think people would be surprised that it's actually not hard just to do it. But what I would think one of the best pieces of advice, and something that has almost been like a mantra for me, is what's the worst that can happen? They say no, and so I don't take no as a negative thing. It's just like truck on to the next thing. And so one of the things I like to really preach is that it doesn't hurt to reach out. It doesn't hurt to ask. You always have to ask, or else you're never going to get to that next level. You're going to sit and wait for that opportunity, but you can't sit and wait. You've got to do it yourself. So, put yourself out there, ask, introduce yourself, do those things that are going to further you. Try your best not to get imposter syndrome.
That it's so true what's the worst that can happen? So someone says no. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's not, your name's not going to be a wanted poster somewhere. Like,
right.
Just go for it.
Right. Right. Oh, that's so true. That actually leads me to my next question that came up in one of the networking sessions yesterday. And that is how to get over career rejection. Because it hurts. You put yourself out there and it hurts. We can say like, oh, just do it and it's fine, but you still feel it. So whether it's, an email with a reply you don't want, whether it's not getting the job, whether it's getting asked to leave a job that's not a right fit. Like, how do you all get over rejection? I'll throw it out to whomever wants to answer.
I'll start, I guess. So something I always tell myself when I've been told no is that it's like not now. It's just not now. It doesn't mean that I'm done forever. It just means this opportunity, this isn't a right fit. It's not now. So let me just keep moving forward. But there's been a lot of times, of course, where the imposter syndrome kicks in, where I'm just like, I don't know if this is like, do I deserve this? But I shoot my shot anyway, or like, am I ready for this? But it's always like a not now. If I get a no, it's not not now. And there's so much more room out there and growth and opportunity. And I just keep pushing forward. I know that sounds like a really simple answer, but it really is that simple sometimes, like when you're processing it, um, to just like stay on the right path or like to go chase your dreams. I don't know. But I feel like I wouldn't be able to survive in LA or something like that.
Mm,
I wouldn't be able to do that. But
Mm.
that's so true.
Yeah, I still, after all these years, I don't know how to fix in the moment of being like upset, sad. Someone said in the chat, it does hurt. It does hurt, but when I think about it, like all the times that like I've lost out on opportunities, like I don't even really remember the specifics of those anymore. Like they've been like, because they're so long gone, and like I found my path finally. And the nice thing, like I like to think about with gaming and esports is like pretty much like almost any like regular career you can think of, there might be a gaming equivalent, like even down to like um I'm in an esports team, and we've got a chef, and we've got a nutritionist, and we've got a sports psychologist, and like obviously those are not like traditional like gaming jobs, but we every kind of job you can think of, there might be a gaming equivalent, which is to say, as Quinn said, there's so many opportunities, especially now that in the last 2 years, like remote work is far more accepted now, which means you aren't necessarily like limited to the city that you live in and the opportunities that exist there. So, and again, go back to like, you can also like create your own path. I think thinking about it as like not now is a great way to think about it, because again, I've been rejected many times over the years. I've said this like publicly on Twitter, like I got denied 4 times by Riot Games for job interviews, and now I work with them and travel the world with them, which is amazing. And so there's always more opportunities.
Brittany, before you chime in, just follow-up question, Heather, to what you just said. Do you think it was just timing, or did you approach them or do something different that you learned the 4th time versus the first?
I mean, a combination of things. I improved my resume. I improved my skill set. I switched kind of roles in a bit. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I don't think there was, unfortunately, like one secret sauce at least.
yeah.
Wait, Heather, I wanted the secret sauce. I'm like,
I
okay,
know.
Heather, tell us all how to close the deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah, of
When you were
course.
talking about like remote positions and how like now we live like after the pandemic, or we're still in a pandemic, but just how there's more remote positions, that also like gives companies more talent, for folks. It makes it more accessible for folks, especially for people with disabilities who may not be able to travel. Like, I love that change in the gaming industry. Like, there's a lot more accessible jobs, because of remote work. All right, that's what I wanted to add.
No,
Yeah, I think there's good points all over the place here. We're probably the most optimal industry for being remote. We were born to work online. And so there's a place for you. And that's another thing, is like, don't take it personally. It's a lot about timing, but also I'm a big believer in it wasn't meant to be.
Mm.
And so always pivot and always think about it in a different way. And maybe, maybe I wasn't talking to the right person. Maybe this wasn't the right company for me. Your path, I think, falls in front of you the way it's supposed to. And the more you put yourself out there, the more you do your research and you reach out to people and you talk to people and you go to events and you meet people, the more I think you start to form what it is that you really want to be doing anyways. And so just because you're hard set in one year, like, this is what I want to be doing, I don't think a lot of people realize all the opportunity that there is, and that there's so many different ways to work in the industry that, that could be fulfilling for you. So it's to be very open. And for me, whenever any kind of rejection happens, I don't ever take it personally. I never say, why not me? I think it's more disappointment in the moment, for almost like in the other in what I'm like, oh, because I feel like I always give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and I'm always probably too loyal, to where it's disappointing when it's not reciprocated. And that I've experienced that with, the biggest job in my life was being Angel in Borderlands. And that has been a very fulfilling and exciting life, but also very disappointing too. There has been a lot, even with my relationship with Gearbox and 2K, where I'm like, I've given you my entire life. Right. So, you could have given me this one thing, but then again, I sit and say, you know what? I wouldn't be on the path I am now if that's what I did. So, I'm very thankful for those no's as well.
Brittani, what you all have said resonates with me so much. Ironically, I take online yoga. My online yoga teacher today, her theme was career and personal rejection, and how it's the universe's way of saying, kind of like what all of you said, that it's an opportunity. It hurts in the moment, but it's an opportunity. I think especially career-wise. She said there's a word in Spanish called that roughly translates to undrowning. And how do you undrown yourself? And it's the moment where you break the surface, right? And when you break the surface, career opportunities open up. So to lean into that, I always say that the gamers would not exist if I hadn't had a terrible professional rejection. I'm not sure if I've told this story quite so publicly, but we're all friends. So I had sold my last business in 2016 to a media company, and was designing toys for Alcon in the toy world and the gaming world. Alcon was the visionary behind Pokemon and Cabbage Patch and a bunch of other toys that I played with that am aging myself. But and I had spent a year designing a toy in gaming. And I felt like it wasn't necessarily a toy. I felt like it was a different level. Like it could enhance fine motor and therefore accuracy in gaming, and work with these really cool guys from MIT on this like tech that they won all these awards for. And I was just so in it and living in it, and spent a year with the marketing. We brought it to Toy Fair, and I was like, said to my husband, I'm like, listen, I'm going to Toy Fair. I'm gonna be so busy when I get back because everybody's going to want this. So just be ready. You may not see me for a while. Not one person. It was just, I missed it. I missed the mark. Like it wasn't right. And it was just rejection. But in that moment, I decided I had to do better. It's kind of why I wanted to start this whole talk with what are trends? What's happening? What are people talking about in gaming? Because I took a beat and I said, okay, I missed it. I got it wrong. So let me see what people are talking about and what's needed in the market. And it was kind of in that moment that I had the idea for the gamers. Like in that moment, as I was researching, I had gone to this conference, and it all came to me while I was wallowing in rejection. So anyway, I off topic, but yeah, so just had to share that. So I really, really love what you all are saying. It's just so true. So switching gears a little bit, where should people go in your opinion, are there resources, are there podcasts, articles to do a deeper dive in the industry? Like, where do you all go when you want to kind of figure out what trends are happening?
Well, I'm very obsessed with like setting up my tweet deck. So I literally have on my second monitor all day long. I have all these categories of like people I want to follow in CS:GO, people I want to follow in Valorant, League of Legends, and in broadcast talent. And I'm just like maybe to the point it's too much of an obsession, but like following what people are talking about and what events are going on, and when they click an event, or they even, as a streamer, they talk about a sponsorship they have, I click it and look at it and see what it's all about, and try to wrap my head around it. Um, I I mostly like Reddit too. Sometimes the comments are a bit toxic, but at least I know the number of the posts that exist there are it's a good place to find what's going on in a different game, in a different community. Um, and then going to events, especially the ones that are those like festival type of events where there's going to be networking opportunities. um, we all love talking about what we do. We absolutely love it. So more often than not, like if you DM someone on Twitter, on LinkedIn, there's a good chance they're gonna reply. Even the people you look up to, some of the bigger influencers, there's a good chance a lot of them will reply, and they love talking about what they do. So I'm a very shy person too, so that's like that takes a lot for me to even say, to even consider. But genuinely, like, people love talking about this stuff, and they're happy to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, you can go.
Oh, I was just gonna say I probably use Twitter and Reddit the most. I'd say with gaming news and esports news, I would say wish I didn't lean on Twitter so much, but I do follow a lot of, I feel like the journalists and the publishers and developers to know, or like the TOs to know enough of like what's actually happening, that I don't really need to go into any like deep newsletters. But I also, I like Duked. I like that there are some other places where all that information is available. But yeah, Reddit, I really love that brands are being more involved in the space. So for me, Twitter is probably where I get that information the most. Like, oh, there's a collaboration with Dolce & Gabbana and Demon Slayer. That's really cool. And like then that also, even though that's anime, really that's hand in hand with the gaming world. And you're starting to see a lot more brands be more involved with orgs and titles and like Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft and all of that. And so I feel like that's where I absorb most of my information.
Yeah.
I was going to say Twitter too.
How about you?
Yeah, Twitter, definitely. I follow a lot of people like who work in the industry that are mutual. So like I just have like lists centered around like the things that I'm interested in. And I just follow those lists and I check out their tweets. And Twitter moves really fast. So it can be very time consuming to like just scrolling and reading and researching and going to Reddit and then like just checking the validity of things. But yeah, a lot of the information I get is from Twitter.
I need to absorb it fast. Like I can't doom scroll.
Right. You have to have a thick skin for Twitter a lot of the time, I must say.
I feel like it's all social media.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm a big believer in giving people the opportunity to shine the light on others. So I want to give you all a time to shine the light on a peer or someone in your life that you feel like is making a difference in the gaming world, and why. So Heather, I'll start with you.
Wow. Oh God, my list would go on and on. Okay, I'm going to stick to close to home and speak about the captain of the women's Valorant team that I work with. Her name is Emily. She is an absolute badass, 5-time world champion, while she's also a nurse at the same time, which is incredible. And she just spends all of her free time specifically focused on like mental health with
Mhm.
gamers,
Mhm.
because that's where her nursing degree is focused on mental health as well. And um, I just I just love that because we have, I mean, the world in general has such an issue with supporting mental health right now and recognizing
Mm.
the need for mental health. And I just love that, you know, pro gamers could just go about their day, play their game, and worry about themselves. But I just adore that um, she's spending her extra time trying to think about how she can make this industry better based on like her very very unique skill sets, and I love that. And then, I won't necessarily name all of them, but there's a lot of just guys too that have looked out for me too. It's not just the other ladies. Like, I wouldn't have been in the place I am without a lot of the other men mentors that
Mhm.
I looked up to and took care of me over the years, and gave me opportunities despite, sometimes they'd be criticized for like, oh, you hired a girl, oh, you have a girl on your team,
Mm.
and they, looked past that criticism and gave me a lot of opportunities, and genuinely grateful for that. It's important that allies come from all corners
That's
of
right.
the world.
That's right. Thank you for that, Heather.
Mhm.
Quinn.
Um, I would like to really highlight ex Mira Mira, who is the leader and founder of the stream team I'm on called Noir. I think it's very important to highlight Black femmes in the industry, Black women and femmes. And as someone who's not a woman, Mira has like really mentored me a lot and helped me in this space and helped me grow and make connections. So yeah, I just feel like it's so important, like, those, like, leaders in this space, especially as Black women, to, like, just get their shine and be heard and seen because 'cause we're, like, grossly misrepresented in this space in media, and I just want to see that, and Mira has done an amazing job at, like, highlighting Black women and femmes in this space, so,
Mm.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna
Thank
say.
you. Thank you for that. Brittany.
I'd say that, I mean, there's so many women, a lot of times when I think of women in the space who are doing, you know, who are doing significant things to move us forward. Even Heather is someone that I'm always referring to. And then someone else that I think I adore and love what she's doing is Christina Amaya, who
Oh,
is
yes.
the director of festivals at DreamHack now. She's always doing incredible things and is really an advocate uh, for God. I mean, she has her hands in so many pots. And so I love what she's doing. I think she's someone great to look up to. I love following what she's working on next. And someone else too, I would like to say, earlier I mentioned Kiki Wolfkill. She's someone that I've always looked up to from day one, her being the head of the studio at 343,
Mm.
and being involved in, oh yeah, Chris Farmer's work
Yeah.
life. I see that in the chat.
I love
And
that, Chris.
yeah, and so Kiki Wolfkill's always been someone that I've looked up to. She's, maybe she's not super involved at conventions and everything, but she's definitely, as I mentioned before, a powerhouse where she's just constantly paving the way for women executives in the space. And what that means and what that stands for, and just doesn't take no for an answer. And
Mm.
just you look at her, she's in a room and everyone just is just like, hello. But someone else too, Carlos at G2, as much as he's a personality, he surrounds himself with powerful women. And it's not to fill a quota, it's because he knows that he's surrounding himself with people who, he needs that. He finds the right person, and in doing so has built many teams with very wonderful, strong, very, like, women-led teams in G2, and then he's also invested in a lot of companies in the space that have been around, minorities and gaming and diversity and as well. So he's someone that I've always looked to as a mentor, but also have been grateful that I've been able to work with.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for all of this. We are at the end of our time together, but thank you for shining the light and, quite frankly, being the light.